Welcome to Wisdom of the Bible. Connect with God through our Bible stories. March 4th, 2024 marks a date that defies all logic and historical precedent in world politics. In the Gulf of Oman, three nations conduct joint military exercises for the first time in history. Russia, China, and Iran maneuver their warships together while the world watches in confusion and fear. But almost no one notices the ancient prophecy being fulfilled right before our eyes at this moment. This alliance should not exist because these three nations have been enemies for over 1,000 years. Russia presents itself as a defender of Orthodox Christianity under President Vladimir Putin's leadership today. Yet it now allies with Iran, whose religious leaders publicly call for death to infidels worldwide. China imprisons millions of Muslim Uyghurs in camps while simultaneously partnering with radical Islamic Iran. The hypocrisy is staggering, but there's something far deeper connecting these three unlikely allies together. History reveals that Russia and Persia fought 4 devastating wars across their shared bloody borders. China and the Soviet Union aimed nuclear missiles at each other for 30 years of Cold War. These nations despise each other, so what force could possibly unite three lifelong enemies like this? The answer lies in a 2,600-year-old prophecy that predicted this exact alliance would form in the end times. What binds Russia, China, and Iran together is humiliation suffered at the hands of Western powers. Russia still nurses the wound from 1991 when the mighty Soviet Union collapsed into chaos and poverty. China carries the pain of its century of humiliation when foreign powers dominated and exploited it. Iran bristles over the overthrow of its Shah in 1979 and decades of isolation from global power. They've decided to stop playing by Western rules and create their own world order instead. But there's something even more mysterious about the timing of their recent aggressive military actions worldwide. February 2022, Russia invades Ukraine, bringing war back to the heart of Europe after decades of peace. October 2023, Iran activates armed proxies, destabilizing Israel and igniting conflict in the Holy Land. Now China encircles Taiwan with blockade drills while U.S. intelligence warns invasion is imminent soon. 3 massive crises unfolding almost simultaneously across the globe in perfectly coordinated chaos and destruction. Is this mere coincidence, or are these three nations following a script written thousands of years ago? These countries have been hit with over 24,000 economic sanctions by Western powers in recent years. They've created their own financial system where 90% of Russia-China trade no longer uses US dollars. The BRICS bloc controls more than a third of all wealth produced worldwide according to latest data. Together, these three nations command 90% of the planet's nuclear weapons, creating unprecedented global threat. This is where the Bible stops being just ancient religious text and becomes a precise map of our future. Prophet Ezekiel wrote, "Set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." Ancient historian Josephus placed Magog at the far northern edge of the known world beyond all civilizations. Draw a straight line due north from Jerusalem and you end up directly in Moscow, Russia's capital. Ezekiel then names Persia as part of this alliance, and until 1935 the whole world knew Iran as Persia. The Bible wasn't using coded language here, but the nation's actual name for 2,500 years of history. Revelation speaks of kings of the east, an immense power coming from the rising of the sun. Only one nation east of the Euphrates River has military might to fit that description today: China. These three historic enemies unite right after Israel became a nation again in 1948 after 2,000 years. The mathematical odds of this coincidence happening naturally are virtually zero according to statistical probability analysis. In 2022, Putin himself quoted Revelation 3 verse 16 to criticize Western nations for being lukewarm spiritually. Patriarch Kirill called the Ukraine invasion a holy military operation against the Western Antichrist forces. Are they using religion to seize power, or is Putin playing a role foretold in ancient scripture? Ezekiel explains God will put hooks in the jaws of this leader to drag him into battle. He doesn't come just because he wants to, but is driven by a force he cannot resist. The Bible states plainly, to take spoil and seize plunder, to steal and keep the riches. Russia built its power by selling natural gas through its massive state-owned company Gazprom for decades. But Israel discovered one of the world's largest gas fields called Leviathan off its Mediterranean coast. Israel plans a massive pipeline to sell gas directly to Europe, threatening Russia's economic power entirely. Russia cannot afford to let that lucrative business slip away, which creates the prophesied economic hook. Prophet Daniel saw a second beast rise up like a bear with 3 ribs in its mouth. First Georgia in 2008, second Crimea in 2014, third Ukraine in 2022, 3 territories devoured exactly. The bear's appetite doesn't seem satisfied, and Israel appears to be the next logical target prophetically. For 2,600 years this prophecy felt distant, with Russia far away in the frozen north. But today Russia has stationed troops and weapons right on Israel's northern border through Syria's war. Russian military bases now operate in Syria, just miles away from Israeli territory for the first time. Ezekiel describes the invasion in terrifying detail, armies covering the land like a cloud of locusts. He warns of 200 million soldiers from the east joining this coalition against tiny Israel. Israel will face the most powerful military alliance ever assembled in human history on earth. But then God himself intervenes directly in a way that every person on earth will witness clearly. 7 supernatural weapons strike the invading armies: earthquake, confusion, plague, hail, rain, fire, and blood. The great earthquake flips tanks worth millions like toys, and mountains collapse, reshaping the entire landscape. And the chaos soldiers, speaking 3 different languages, begin attacking each other, unable to communicate properly. A supernatural plague dissolves their organs while they stand as blood seeps through their skin and uniforms. 5 out of 6 soldiers die, meaning 83.3% of the invading army is destroyed supernaturally by God. The surviving 33 million return home as terrified witnesses, saying it wasn't an army that beat us, but God himself. Every person who didn't believe in God becomes a believer instantly when they see prophecy fulfilled perfectly before their eyes.